The sidechain won't have a new token. It uses XRP from the mainnet, and there's a specific and technical way to.
For 99% of all smart contract use cases we see today, you can do exactly what you do with EVM, but then with hooks. And I think hooks are more efficient in many ways. And hooks can execute only at the start of a transaction or at the end of a transaction. So it's either when a transaction is initialized, that's when you can programmatically still say, I don't want this transaction, for example, and it's not going to enter your account or it's not going to leave your account. Very important feature. The other stage is after the transaction. If the transaction went through consensus, if the transaction is okay, you may want to execute add-on logic to do something based on what happened in this transaction. Really simple example. You got a deposit of 1000 XRP and you want to route it partially to your savings account, small part to a carbon offset account, and you want to keep the rest in your account but turn it into a stablecoin, for example, retail use case. And we have gone through a lot of different use cases we're going after ourselves, use cases where we see other developers going after.
Welcome to the DeFi Standard, and this is Mickey B. Fresh.
For Q3 launch.
So Hooks just announced they passed their audit with flying colors. There's a couple key things in here that I'm going to try to explain. One of the primary motivations behind Hooks is to maintain the XRPL's efficiency and scalability while introducing smart contract capabilities. The idea is to provide developers with essential tools for building on-ledger logic, influencing the flow of transactions, and being able to spin off newly crafted transactions on the XRP Ledger without overburdening the network with complex and resource-intensive smart contracts. Well, here's the first look at the Hooks store, which I think is really interesting, actually, and is worth a look. So just to give us an example of what this is going to look like, look at this right here, Hooks store. So these are just payment hooks right now. So these are things you're going to be able to add to your account like Trustlines. So you have a firewall, a thanks NFT, automatically mint commemorative NFTs, a piggy bank, which sends a percentage to your savings account, a UNICEF charity, carbon offset, and a doorman only allow transactions from known addresses. And then they have like the details then of the piggy bank. Now, this is really, really user-friendly. And they're making this where all these are verified. So what we talked about with the EVM contracts that you're signing and you don't know what you're signing, this removes all that complexity, and this is at the network layer.
Just like that, I think VT actually plans to have sort of a hook store, or maybe you want to elaborate on sort of maybe that flow.
Yeah, definitely. So if you look at the smart contract world today, people interact with a range of contracts on, for example, what they call a Web3 website, just a normal website, and it interacts with a blockchain and smart contracts there. But if you look at what the signing process looks like for end users, it's not really convenient. So you interact with a contract, you use a website to set something up, and then you take your client, your wallet, and then you see a bunch of hashes, and then you decide to trust that and sign it. It's there's a disconnect between the actual interaction with the smart contract and what you can verify in your client is going to happen. So the way we view this from XRPL Lab, from the XUMM perspective, is that a interaction with a hook should always, or should preferably be companioned by an xApp or a web app, and the two should work together, where it's almost like an app store experience, where you either install the hook on your account, and that will get the xApp in your wallet, basically, because the wallet sees you have the hook installed, so it shows the UI for that hook, or the other way around, where you open the xApp for certain functionality, and then the first thing the xApp will offer is installing the hook it is for. And this user experience really makes it like Legos on your account. So you get a hook store concept where you say, okay, I want to install the firewall hook to prevent memo spam from coming into my account. I want to install the account protection hook so that if I lose my keys, my family still has access, or the notary can recover access, or there's a admin switch on my account. Oh, and I want to install the savings hook to automatically save a couple of % of every asset I can specify that leaves or enters my account. And these installed hooks will be hooks on your account on the ledger, but they will also be xApps displayed in your wallet. And the xApp can help with making the things very visible related to that hook. So your settings, what's the savings percentage? What's the block list level? The transactions affected. So your transaction history, but from the hook context. What did the hook do to this transaction? And I don't think we're going to enforce it, but I think it would make a lot of sense for some and other clients to, if they allow you to interact with a certain hook, one, the hook should be trusted, and two, the hook should be accompanied by a proper hook-specific UI. And we're probably not going to be allowed to call it a hook store, because Apple and Google will have their opinion about that. But yeah, that's the direction we're taking.
I mean, that sounds massive, right? And compared to smart contracts people are interacting with all the time and then having their wallet drained because they don't understand what's really happening, and no one looks at code. So this is a massive advantage to the stuff we're having right now across the industry.
What I just shared is something that's going to be live the day the Hooks network is going live, and XUMM is going to be updated to add full hook support. We're going to launch with this concept. So there are going to be a couple of hooks doing the things I just described with a UI, with a shop-like, store-like experience in XUMM. And I hope that's going to raise the bar for other contract and xApp developers.
Especially regarding this concept with the hook store, or basically creating these hooks and getting this to users, how would somebody get his own hook app or hook into the XUMM or hook store? Because you guys would have need to audit this, so it's not a malicious hook that people would then install, probably, correct?
Yeah, completely agree. So what we will do, especially at the beginning, is audit these hooks, right? That's I would say our responsibility as the ones creating the client that everyone uses. Only audited, only whitelisted hooks are going to be easy to install. Just one click on your account.
That's what we need. That draws interest, and it gives people a great user experience.
And in time, I can see a market actually for the enterprise, for the commercial hooks, where there are companies specialized in providing these services.
And to be clear, you can still use a direct access to the new network to install any hook you want on your account. We're not it's not centralized around us. We're not gatekeeping that. It's just if you use our wallet software, then we want to make sure that you're not installing something malicious.
Yeah, totally understood, and that's great to see.
Gonna raise the bar for other contract and xApp developers.
It far exceeds our initial expectations. It's very, very efficient.
As a direct response for demand for smart contracts like functionality on the ledger, the team at XRPL Labs introduced hooks. Hooks are small, efficient pieces of a code that allow for quick and easy execution of logic before and after a transaction. All native to the XRP Ledger, hooks will enable additional programmability on top of the XRPL, as well as smart contract capabilities that are fast, low, and eliminate the need for solidity or contract-to-contract calling. We will keep the community apprised of new updates as we progress our roadmap for XRPL sidechains. Now, the important reason to pay attention to hooks is it's going to affect you and your accounts and the way your accounts are controlled. You'll be able to customize certain accounts that are controlled by a hook. And if you don't want payments coming in, you could just block all payments coming in unless it's from this address or this address. And same with vice versa. So it allows this customizability at the network layer. So this is at the network layer. It's built in, but it's not going to be on the mainnet XRPL right away. It'll be on a sidechain, and that will allow us to test it and use it. But this gives xApps, so you know the dApp store inside of XUMM, it's going to give them a load of capabilities that they haven't been able to use because we have this wave of developers coming in.
We estimate you can do about 90% of all of the things that you can do with any other smart contract platform for about 10% of the cost to the network. We went through several iterations of building and refining the concepts and the code, and we released in the end 3 versions of the testnet. We're now currently on version 3 of the testnet, and the code has passed a independent security audit. It's a very large amendment, about 15,000 lines of code, and we had originally intended to get it merged into mainnet, but for a variety of reasons and politics that didn't end up happening, and Ripple have expressed their preference that big new features like hooks, go on sidechains, and they are very vocal about their support of a sidechain ecosystem. So they have their EVM sidechain and their CBDC sidechain and so on. And they also have a very large amendment they're trying to get merged into mainnet at the moment that is explicitly for supporting sidechains. So we decided, okay, we will put hooks on a sidechain. That's fine with us. So we're hoping to launch our sidechain, hopefully, this year, Q3 sometime. This is all subject to sign off by legal and so on. And our sidechain won't have an ICO. It doesn't have a new coin or anything like that. It does use mainnet XRP that you have to swap or transfer over to the new sidechain via a technical mechanism, or you can buy it off somebody who's already done this. So we expect there'll be a market where you can swap.
So this was the initial tweet. The sidechain will obviously feature a representation of XRP, but if you're asking if we're going to issue a company app coin, no, I see no reason to issue yet another useless token pretending off utility. They're not going to do it right away, but they're not going to do it to self-enrich. The idea is to provide developers with essential tools for building on-ledger logic, influencing the flow of transactions, and being able to spin off newly crafted transactions on the XRP Ledger without overburdening the network with complex and resource-intensive smart contracts. So they're creating smart accounts with this. So we're going to have 5 pre-compiled hooks to start when the hooks sidechain launches, which this capability is eventually going to make its way to the mainnet. But the goal is to test on the sidechain, and it will have its own independent chain, but the supply of XRP is only 100 billion. They have, the way they've made the code, the forked code has 0 XRP, and it's going to get an issued version of it and use that as its native currency. So it's like we get an advanced, enhanced ledger with smart account capabilities, and this will make any mission-critical project built on the XRPL much more efficient and secure. Hooks can be triggered on outgoing or incoming transactions. So the fact it can be triggered on incoming or outgoing, it allows people to add these precompiled hooks at the hooks store, which is going to be one of the best user experiences, I think, to date in crypto. And one thing I like about XRP Labs is they're very methodical and they're security minded first, and they've been in no hurry. And they did want to propose it to the mainnet, but at the same time, with such a complex, I think of 15,000 lines of code to add to the mainnet XRPL, it is a lot of, even though it just went through flying colors in the security audit, it's a lot to add at this moment with everything else that's being added, with the AMM, it's the sidechain, the digital identity. Now, this is not going to be the only amendment enabled. There's going to be others. Hooks can be triggered on outgoing or incoming transactions. Why is this also important? Because this allows to build various dApps, including DeFi. DeFi is one of the central use cases an audit looked at, FYEO, when auditing hooks. The amendment, and this enables FYEO to leverage their blockchain agnostic process they've used on hundreds of projects on all major layer 1 blockchains. So basically, XRP Labs also had the assistance of Equilibrium Labs and then their other subsidiary in Switzerland to help build the Hooks Builder site, which allowed them to have a browser-based, they could spin up precompiled hooks and then attach those to xApps and other type of dApps.
It's public, etc., and it actually works. And this allows other devs to build on it. And we work with a couple of people from Equilibrium, a well-known blockchain development company, and they have built an entire builder. So you can now go in your browser, go to hooks.xrpl.org, and start building immediately. Compile it to WebAssembly, deploy it to our testnet, and actually fire transactions against it.
So right now, you have all these developers that they built this special builders component with Equilibrium, where it's like no installs, WebAssembly based, built-in code, save and share, easy to use, test, debug, because it was like so easy if you're a developer to use this, because it has everything right here for you to build. And having a platform for developers, it's not just about utility of the token. And I get that. And I'm all for utility, but I'm here to say it's more complicated. You need community effort and input. People don't drive utility. One person doesn't drive utility for anything. It takes a community. It takes an economic model. It takes governance. It takes people to run infrastructure. These tokens will have value because they have DeFi ecosystems and they have storage demand. We don't have any of that right now. We need that. And the ledger, this was in the Twitter Spaces call.
So the Hooks sidechain would allow us to progress forward on the XRP Ledger ecosystem. So on the XRP Ledger tech stack, we're able, devs, users, and enterprises are able to go on the Hooks sidechain and do R&D. Again, they could directly do that without needing to wait. And what I mean by this is that we need to catch up with with other protocols aside from the XRP Ledger. Because if you look at Ethereum and all the protocols, all the tech stacks, and all of the applications built on Ethereum are extremely cool. In a way, they're valuable if used correctly. But if you don't catch up, again, which has said this, we're going to turn into the Nokia of crypto. That is entirely possible. And looking at the state of the network, looking at the state of the talent pool, in terms of the developer talent pool, at least on the XRP Ledger ecosystem, it's somewhat small. And the Hook sidechain would allow us to progress forward in a way that allows devs to develop their own set of applications, their own set of dApps, either through hooks or through Evernode, which is extremely valuable since it's it's just a bunch of bare bones computers in parallel with each other. And with hooks, the hook sidechain, we're going to see a lot of evolution in terms of the rate of R&D, in terms of the rate of adoption. We'll see.
Well, I mean, this is what's needed, right? Going back to one of the things that you had mentioned, right? XRP Ledger not falling behind in this kind of example of being the Nokia of blockchains in the space, right? The ability to have all of these developers want to come over and start building on things like the Hooks sidechain and then Evernode and then maybe the Hooks environment on the mainnet. That R&D really is what will propel the Rippled code base and future developments to really keep the XRP ledger as not even in the realm of the other blockchains, but the most technologically advanced out of the bunch that exist, which I still think it primarily is, especially if we get the automated market maker on there and then eventually the hooks, in my opinion, of course.
There's a risk it could be left behind, and we end up like the Nokia in a way. As much as, adding AMMs is great, adding all these things into the ledger are awesome, but having that programmability at layer 1 is so important. And what's so cool about hooks, it's going to be much more user-friendly for retail, but at the same time, it's going to be very enterprise-focused. These were the pre-compiled contracts, and that's what I was saying, Peggy, an Oracle-based stablecoin hook. Then there was this notary, a collection of signatures for multi-sign transactions, firewall to blacklist accounts, transaction, and then a starter. So the example when I was talking about Peggy, it shows just like a easy to use compile, but it said, look, collateralization ratio 150%, 120% vault, and could be taken over. So Peggy Hook provides an automated way to issue and redeem an over-collateralized XRP-backed stablecoin. Sending XRP to it creates a vault and sends back a stablecoin, which can be redeemed against the vault to get back the original XRP. The exchange rate between the XRP and stablecoin is the limit set on a trust line established between two special Oracle accounts. If the value of XRP falls too far, the vault gets under a minimum collateralization threshold. This means anyone who wants to top up the vault above the threshold can come along and take it over. That's just like the video when David Swartz talked about his stablecoin proposal. This takes inspiration from that.
I've suggested a bunch of changes that fall into several different categories, changes that are in the form of new features. One of the features that I think is very exciting is a feature that would allow people to launch, stablecoins are the obvious use, but it's not just stablecoins. It's essentially assets pegged to some external value. Features similar to that exist on other systems, but the interesting thing about this is that
the liquidity is guaranteed by the ledger mechanics.
This would allow people to issue their own stablecoin, and the liquidity would be guaranteed by the ledger, because you'd always be able to redeem because it's your XRP and it's just being held in the hook, and that's it. And then some application have composability and tap into that. All right, but this is here. Expect this on the sidechain first, and don't expect them to publicize it. I think this is going to be low key, and they're not going to talk about it much. That's my guess. It's going to move quickly because this is all built and done. And they're going to have a hook store ready to go. It's going to all be built into XUMM. So if you don't have a XUMM wallet and you just haven't gotten around to it or whatever, there's no excuse. If you're in the XRP community and you're in this day in, day out, and you're even watching these videos, you better get a XUMM wallet. It's an absolute must. It's the only feature complete, fully XRP Ledger focused only wallet. There's no other wallet that compares to it. You can't do those things with Ledger Nano. It only inhibits you and limits your capabilities there. Unless you're holding long term and you're never going to touch that thing, that's the only reason you need one of those things. And this isn't speculation. This is happening. You listen to Twitter Spaces. They're launching this in Q3. And it's just going to launch. There's no token sale. There's no airdrop. There's no nothing. Now, bridging your token over there I'm not going to talk about today because that details still have to come out. And since the XRP Ledger does not have hooks enabled or smart contracts, locking it on the main chain is, until the XLS38D and the witness servers thing is launched, it's not an easy task. Because if you do a multi-sig arrangement of federators, that's custodial, and then you get a regulatory thing. So they have a way around it. It's pretty cool. But once they release the details of that, it's called XPOP. It's very interesting. And it's learning about this hook store, because this is cool. Like, user experience wise, I've not seen anything like this in crypto. But there's so many people who have no idea about any of this, and they've never heard about it. They've overlooked it, and it's just going to come, and they're going to be like, where'd all this come from? I was never told about this. And it's going to be there for them to use.